Welcome to CFB Today, the number one college football show with host Alec. Let's dive right in. Today on the show, I'm going to give you my grades for all the new head coach hirings in college football, as well as talk about the opening at Michigan and the top three names that I think Michigan should look at, plus a dark horse, plus who I actually think will be the next Michigan head coach. So let's hop right in. Without further ado, we've got Alex Golesh going to Auburn, and I'm giving that an A plus. Love the hire for Auburn. I'm sad to see Golesh leave South Florida, but I feel like Golesh to Auburn, and people wanted to tell me, "Oh, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen." Auburn wasn't even looking at him. Yes, they were, and they obviously got the coach they wanted. And I'm pretty sure Golesh will bring some of his Louis luggage from South Florida to Auburn with him, because after USF bowl game last night, they had four guys enter the transfer portal. Brandon Witten, a defensive lineman, Fred Gaskin, and Jarvis Lee. And I don't expect that to be the last of the guys from USF to enter the portal. The next one is Jimmy Rogers to Iowa State. That gets an A plus. Jimmy Rogers was just getting started at Washington State, but I think everybody knew that at some point he was going to leave Washington State for a big-time job somewhere else. And Iowa State gets their guy. I forgot to put the new USF coach on here, Brian Hartline. But the other thing with Rogers is I think he's going to do very good at Iowa State. And I can see Iowa State not missing a beat even after losing Matt Campbell, who is on this list. Next, before we get to Colin Klein at K-State, we're going to talk about South Florida and them hiring away offensive coordinator from Ohio State, Brian Hartline. Love the hire. It gets an A+, and I think he's going to do great things in Tampa, and I would not be surprised if Ohio State's already had a wide receiver hop in the portal, and it's Bryson Rogers. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryson Rogers ends up at USF with Coach Hartline. Now we get to K-State and Colin Klein. It gets a B for me. I kind of feel like this was rushed because you had Chris Kleiman retire and you had Colin Klein come in to take the head coaching job. I'm going to say this, though. I do like the hire. I feel like it was a good hire, but I feel like they could have at least interviewed a couple guys before deciding, yes, Colin Klein's going to be our next head coach. Then the next one is Kentucky and Will Stein. It gets a B+ for me. I think everybody knew that Kentucky was going to move on from Mark Stoops. We had talked about it on this show numerous times during the season, how it was not possible that Kentucky could keep Mark Stoops through they got rid of him, and within a week they found a new head coach in Will Stein, and I love the hire, and I think Kentucky might be back in football. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Michigan State getting Pat Fitzgerald gets a B- for me. Fitzgerald's been out of coaching in college football for a couple years, and I don't know how this is going to work, but I could see it working, and then Fitzgerald uses this maybe to go, I'm not going to say up, he might use this to get a bigger job in like the SEC or the ACC. But I like the hire. I think it was a home run hire for Michigan State after getting rid of Jonathan Smith. And I like it. UCLA hiring Bob Chesney, A minus. This was a home run hire for UCLA. And I assumed before we heard about Chesney to UCLA that they were just going to keep Tim Skipper and make him the head coach. But I love the Bob Chesney hire. Now let's see what he does with the rest of his staff, which is he's obviously already got, but he's not going to fully take over until James Madison's out of the playoff. Lane Kiffin to LSU, A minus. Love the hire for LSU, getting out from Brian Kelly. One issue is say DeBoer takes the job at Michigan. Will Lane Kiffin then decide, oh, you know what? I wanted to go to Bama all along. Will he leave LSU? I don't think so. I think he's going to stay at LSU for at least a couple years. That's why I'm giving this an A. He's an excellent recruiter. LSU fans, you got your guy. Next, we've got Florida hiring John Summerall. B plus. Gator fans, I want to know what you college football fans in general, I want to know what you think about my grades for these coaches. But Summerall gets a B plus. I love what he's done at Tulane. Now he gets the opportunity to do it at a bigger school in the SEC. We're going to see if he can stick with the big dogs. Like the hire. Next is Ryan Silverfield to Arkansas. A B. It gets a B for me. Silverfield's had a lot of success at Memphis. Can he have the same success at Arkansas? And how long is he going to get there before the athletic department decides and the boosters decide, oh, it's not working out. We need a new guy. But I like the hire. I think it will work out. I really do. Penn State getting Matt Campbell is an A plus after losing James Franklin. Love the hire. Good recruiter. I know there's a knock on him that he can't. He's the new James Franklin because according to some people, he can't win big games. I think he can. I don't think he did not have the talent other than Rocco Beck and Brock Purdy at Iowa State. I think at Penn State he's going to do a lot better. In Penn State, Bo Pabula just entered the portal. Maybe Pabula ends up back at Penn State, or maybe he's going to end up at a school that James Franklin just got hired at. That we'll talk about in a second. Stanford hiring Taviti Pritchard, B minus. Don't know much about him, but I do know he was the Commanders quarterback coach the last couple of years. And I like the hire. I would have liked to see Stanford, though, give Frank Reich one more year because there's going to be better options. But I guess Andrew Luck and the boosters, they really like Pritchard as the coach. That's why he's getting a B minus. Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. This was a home run hire. A minus for me. Love this. And I believe he's going to bring a bunch of his guys from North Texas, including quarterback Drew Mestemaker. I really do. And I think within 1 or 2 years, you'll see Oklahoma State back near the top of the Big 12. Now we get to James Franklin to Virginia Tech, A plus. Absolute home run hire. He's going to give him 1 to 2 years. He's going to dominate the ACC. Dominate. He doesn't have to worry about playing Ohio State every year. He doesn't have to worry about playing Michigan every year. Indiana. I mean, yes, you got Clemson. You got Florida State, Virginia. Okay, Virginia's your biggest rival, yeah. But I still think Virginia Tech's in a better spot with him as head coach compared to Brent Pry, who they did bring back to be the defense coordinator. We get to Colorado State hiring Jim Mora, A-. Like the hire, like what he did at UConn. Look at what he did at UConn. He turned UConn around. Before he got there, UConn was a doormat for football. They were not very good. And look what he did in his 3 years at UConn. Brought them to 3 straight bowl games. Can he do that with Colorado State? I believe he can. You just got to give him a couple years. Next is Jason Candle to UConn. I think UConn got shafted here because they didn't know. They knew Mora was probably going to take a bigger job, but they didn't know that he was going to leave. I like the hire of Jason Candle, though. And the last one is Pete Golding. Ole Miss hiring promoting Pete Golding to head coach. C-. And I don't think this is going to work. And here's why. I think this was to keep, because they knew Lane Kiffin. He knows Lane Kiffin's going to come in and take some of the guys and bring him to LSU. The only reason they promoted Golding to head coach is because they wanted to try to keep everybody in the locker room. Keep them together. That's why it gets a C-. Now we get to my top 3 candidates for the Michigan head coach to be the next Michigan head coach. Number 3, Jimbo Fisher. And this is from least likely to most likely. And Jimbo's number 3. I could see Michigan saying, you know what, we want to get out of it. We want to move on from the whole cheating, all the scandals we've had in the last couple of years. So give us Jimbo Fisher. I could see it happening. Number 2 is Biff Poggi. He's the interim right now. I could see them giving Poggi 1 year as the head coach, which would be next year. And Biff Poggi does deserve another chance to be head coach. I don't think he had the correct assets at Charlotte, and that's probably why he got let go by them. But if you give him the correct assets at Michigan, which he will, I think he will flourish. And number 1, and this name keeps getting thrown around for Michigan, Jesse Minter, the current defense coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. He, former Michigan defense coordinator, went to the NFL, has had success, and I can honestly see him going back to Michigan to be the head coach. But I've got a dark horse, and then I've got the guy I think will be the next head coach for Michigan. My dark horse is Derek Mason, the Middle Tennessee head coach right now. I honestly think Derek Mason will be a head coach in the Power 4 again. Maybe Michigan, or maybe he leaves Middle Tennessee and goes to Ohio, who just fired their head coach with cause. But my choice for the next Michigan head coach, and I'm pretty sure he's already signed an extension with his current school, but it is Texas State head coach G.J. Kinney. I think he will be the next head coach at Michigan. And I am 100% on it. And let's wrap up the show talking about the USF game last night. I just think USF, they lost goalless, and they're just looking ahead to next year because they know they're going to lose. Like I said earlier in the show, they've already had 4 guys jump in the portal, enter the portal. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have more guys enter the portal. at some point down within the next couple weeks. And one of them maybe being Byron Brown. Because I think Byron Brown will enter the portal and probably go to Auburn if Byron Brown does not declare for the NFL draft. If Byron Brown declares for the draft, then he's probably going to get drafted in like the 4th or 5th round. But, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap up today's episode of CFB Today. I will see everybody back here tomorrow afternoon at 12 p.m. for another episode of the Pocket Presence Podcast, where I'm going to have my top 15 wide receivers for the 2026 NFL Draft, as well as a first-round mock draft. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section down below of this video. But other than that, have a wonderful rest of your Thursday and enjoy the rest of bowl season.